Jon Pardi's journey to superstardom and a fictional character celebrates an anniversary of some very real music. Today on the Music Universe podcast. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Oh my God. We're airing this a day later than we should have on a Sunday. I wanted to air this yesterday, but we didn't get to record on Friday. It's Saturday now because I came back. I was dead tired. What a day I had following Jon Pardi around New York City. I say that. I mean, I just went to Build and to his concert at the Hammerstein Ballroom. Did you watch it on Facebook or Prime? Did you see anything?
I didn't. I wanted to catch it, but I was just, spending some time with my daughter and just hanging out.
That's really cool. The other reason we wanted to air this yesterday is because it was the anniversary of the Chris Gaines album, Garth Brooks' In the Life of Chris Gaines album that came out 20 years ago today as we're recording this, and yesterday as you folks are hearing this.
Oh, yeah.
So, are you a fan of the Chris Gaines album? I love the Chris Gaines album.
I do too, and it gets a lot of flack because people just did not understand where Garth was going with this. I mean, he was a fictional Australian rock star with a sex craze, and had some great music. For those that aren't familiar with the background of this, it was a pre-soundtrack to a film that never made it past the the idea stage, is called The Lamb, where I don't know if Garth was actually going to play Chris Gaines, but I heard at the time Steven Tyler was tapped to play Chris Gaines. Never made it past the soundtrack, and it just confused the hell out of people. Now, I loved it. Now, seeing Garth in a bodysuit, I could have done without that, but it was a pretty cool thing, and so it was a greatest hits album in quotations of songs we never heard but were supposedly popular from this guy's catalog, and it got a lot of flack because Garth went pop rock, and people didn't understand it.
No, see, I'm going to stop you there because I think it wasn't about Garth going pop, because Taylor Swift went pop to, incredible reaction.
But it was based on a fictional character, and Garth was playing a fictional character, not himself. That's
exactly it. That's the issue.
That's where it went, so to speak, wrong. But the album sold 2 million copies.
It did, and Rose by Any Other Color is still a rose, and with 2 million albums by any other artist is 2 million albums, but because Garth was selling diamond-level albums, it was considered a flop. But 20 years on, it became kind of a cult classic among his fan base, and I still listen to it. Snow in July, Digging for Gold,
that's my favorite.
White Flag is just awesome.
It Don't Matter to the Sun, which Don Henley's recorded since then, and another artist or two as well. Actually, Donald Glover covered it not too long ago. That kind of made the popularity grow again. And then, of course, anybody that's a Garth fan knows about it. Garth has not had any interest in reliving it. It's one of the only albums of his that has not seen a reissue from that time period. He just doesn't want to relive it, and in a recent interview with Yahoo, he even said that fans are coming up to him saying, "That's my favorite Garth Brooks album," and he doesn't understand it. But he also said, people that got it, and I know we got it. I got it the day it came out. I got the holographic edition, and it came out 20 years ago, man. I really remembered. I was super excited and confused too.
Well, it's not to beat up on Garth because the media did enough of that, but the truth of the matter is, history being history, we can look back and say that was a pretty dark period for Garth. Fresh Horses wasn't doing well. Was this before Fresh Horses?
No.
There were issues with...
This was 99, so Fresh Horses was 95.
Fresh Horses wasn't doing well. Sevens 2 years earlier had been delayed. So it was just a very, very rough patch for Garth in terms of his sales and things going on at his label, and some turmoil that I think was reflected in how the albums were pushed and how not well they were pushed by the label. And I don't think it was by anything Garth had done. He was fulfilling himself creatively. He had a great decade leading up to it, and Fresh Horses is still some of the favorite live songs that he does are off of Fresh Horses, Beaches, and when he was doing The Fever.
Yeah.
It's just, there's some really good, solid Garth songs on there that I think history will be kind to. And it's funny to mention album sales, because the thing about Jon Pardi, which is how we started this and is our main story here today, he's only released 3 albums in the last 8 years. Whereas Garth was doing every 2 years, or now, or even every 1 year if the label was pushing him. So it's interesting that just now, 8 years into his record label debut with capital UMG, he has really, really hit the big time. And that's what yesterday was about with Jon Pardi. I decided that I would go and attend, as I try to do whenever somebody we cover is around. I try to go and see their AOL build, or their, what's called now Verizon build series. And he was very down to earth, and I'm not going to say he was articulate because he kind of stumbled on his words, but I liked that. He was
real.
Just down to earth. He was real.
Yeah.
He was not media trained. He was just hanging out, talking to his interviewer. And I actually, because it was a small audience, it wasn't crowded, they actually didn't have many people to ask a question. So I typically, especially if I know I'm going to be covering them, I typically don't ask a question if I know I'm going to cover a show from them later in the night. I'm just there to listen to what they say and kind of, it's content gathering for the review for the next day.
Yeah.
But they didn't have anybody to ask a question. I thought, I have a really good question, and we're going to listen to it right now.
My man.
Hi, John.
What's up, bud?
First of all, became a fan at your Jones Beach show with Dierks Bentley, and I've been listening
awesome.
to you ever since. My question for you is, you've been described as neo-traditionalist.
Uh-huh.
Is that a label you would ascribe to yourself? How do you describe Jon Pardi's music?
I think neo-traditionalist is good. It brings me back to Dwight Yoakam. Mm-hmm. Dwight was put in that category in the 90s because he had this. First of all, he had Pete Anderson on guitar, and it was this rock and blues, rock and roll kind of country that was influenced with California Bakersfield sound. Mm-hmm. And for me, it kind of takes me back to where I'm kind of bringing this old school sound, but it's modern. And I always can explain that I can tour with Alan Jackson, or I can go open up for FGL. Mm-hmm. And it's all in the same kind of relevance. And I think that's what neo-traditionalists mean. And I hold on to that flame, but I don't want to be like describing everybody else as not country, because I feel like I'm here, you need an opening act, or you want to come join the show, I'm your buddy.
I love that.
High fives.
Because it seems like I asked that because it seems like neo-traditionalism is a label that gets imbued upon somebody. They don't set out to say, I'm going to be neo-traditionalist. I mean, when you're an artist, what does that mean?
Yeah, I was going to say, we should explain that for the audience that's not aware of what neo-traditional country music is.
Yeah. Sorry, I took a sip of water there, guys. If you hear ice clattering, that's that's the water. But I thought you were about to launch into an explanation there too, buddy. What is neo-traditionalism to you in country music?
So if you take, Randy Travis, George Strait, a lot of these guys that came out, wow, you're really, really clattering there. If you take these guys that are in the new frame of mind, let's say, of country music, and it's modern, but it still has the realistic expectations of what country music is. So you're looking at a new artist that is traditional country. So you might hear some of today's elements, but it's mostly original country. And that is obviously objective and all that. So you just Alan Jackson's a big one. He was in the '90s when, well, Garth came out, Travis Tritt,
Class of '89.
yeah, part of the class. Clint Black, who was also, I would say, pretty neo-traditionalist. But you had more rockers like Garth and especially Travis Tritt that just kind of went against what country music was at the time. And then you have people like Alan coming out that just stayed true to the music. That's what neo-traditionalist is. And again, Randy Travis is one of them back in the mid-'80s when country was kind of going a little more pop, and he just stayed to his roots. And so that's what that means. And yeah, John is definitely one of them. Now I believe he does use some loops, but not to the extent that these guys are using today that country radio just loves to play.
Well, I would even say country radio is starting to get away from him. There was a period in 2000. You bring it up. Garth and Travis came up the same time as Garth and Travis Tritt came up in the same time in the same popularity as the Brooks and Dunns and the golden era of Randy Travis.
Yeah.
So you had the polarizing figures of Garth and Travis Tritt with the Alan Jacksons and the Brooks and Dunns really balancing it out. We had a period in the 2000s that really auto-tuned country, bro country, was all you had. Let me read a little something from my review that published yesterday from this whole Jon Pardi event. I say, after the urban cowboy phase, which is Randy Travis put an end to, neo-traditionalism came into fashion in the 90s. The boot scooting of Brooks and Dunn gave way to the car cruising of FGL. That's Florida Georgia Line. That, in turn, opened the doors for the success of Luke Bryan and the mega-stardom of Blake Shelton with bro country. Jason Aldean and Dierks Bentley, who I think both started before FGL were out of diapers, eventually muscled their way into mainstream success. Now, finally, we're back inside the honky-tonk, but it's different than before. I don't know that there's anybody coming up that's using exclusively autotune. Kane Brown, but I don't know that Kane Brown is going to go anywhere. I don't think he's going to be an arena headliner. I think he's kind of fizzling. Lauren Elena, who came up a little around the same time, she's having the success that I don't think he's going to achieve. I could be wrong.
Well,
I want to be wrong because I want everybody to be successful. Yeah. It's good for country as a whole. But like you said, Jon Pardi, he uses the autotunes, he uses the loops, but it's not the main ingredient like it is for these guys, Kane and FGL.
Right.
It's really interesting to see country radio get tired of it, and I knew within the decade they would, and
I would hope so.
It's interesting because Jason and Dierks started in the 90s. They started as a response to like Garth. Garth was kind of what pushed them to go to Nashville, but here they are not finding success, not finding the arena tour success until late 2000s, early 2010s. And they're touring alongside the younger guys like
Jason's
FGL.
Yeah, see, Jason's first project was in the early 2000s. And then, Dierks was right around that time too. But as you mentioned, country radio and things being back to what it was, not to change the subject, but Billy Ray Cyrus has a new single called Chevys and Fords, and his people are telling him it's too country for country radio. That's what these radio executives are telling the label, and that's why only 6, believe this or not, when it went to singles have things they call ad dates. For those that don't know, when it was hitting its ad date, only 6 media-based stations added it because it was too country. Now there's a loop in there, but it, like you said, it's not the main ingredient. It's a 6/8 waltz.
So then how is Luke Combs getting the play he's getting? Because he's as country as everything.
He's
as
90s country, dude.
Heard.
He is 90s country. I know some of his stuff has had loops, but his new stuff doesn't. Like One Too Many with Brooks and Dunn is a great 90s country song. Beer Never Broke My Heart. I could auto loop that thing all day.
It was funny at Brad. They were I saw them both at the same location. They were playing music. There was a DJ playing music in between, or they were playing music in between.
Yeah.
No, it was at Dierks. That song came on. You would have thought Friends in Low Places had come on. Beer Never Broke My Heart came on, you would have thought it was Friends in Low Places. Everybody was singing that song.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it was incredible to see.
My daughter
that song had
sings
been out
that
for what, 4 months?
Yeah, something like that. My daughter sings that at school, and people think she's crazy. They don't know.
Your daughter singing about beer. I
know,
I
right?
Can understand.
I told her yesterday. I'm like, you've got to be the only kid in 4th grade singing about drinking songs, because
I was the only kid listen. I didn't know what that. I listened to that summer over and over and over again. I didn't know what that was until I hit puberty.
Yeah, I didn't either. I think I was probably 20 something before I knew what that was, honestly. But she was singing 1-2 Mini walking to school the other day, and then I know she's singing it at school, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. These kids are probably wondering, who is this girl singing these drinking songs? And I can only imagine what the adults think, but I don't care. I'm teaching her right. That's what I'm doing.
That's good.
Teaching
That's good.
her right.
My point with all of this, buddy, and I want to see if you agree, is this class of the decade. I don't know that there's a class of the year like there was in '89 with that real sort of golden era of country going mainstream. But the class of the decade with the Luke Combs and the Casey Musgraves and the Jon Pardi, they're all occupying space in the country music vacuum of pop culture. Like Jon Pardi is kind of taking Alan Jackson's spot. Luke Combs,
he's taking Garth's spot.
God, I hope Garth's team doesn't kill me for this, but he's in Garth's spot.
Well,
that's exactly right.
I will tell you, speaking of Luke, he is he sold out Rupp Arena in Lexington yesterday, Friday, in record time. He beat out
faster than Garth.
Yeah, I forgot who he beat out, but it's all over the internet. Like, people are sharing it, and it's amazing. Like, his superstardom is literally, I feel like it's overnight, and I'd love to see him live, and in fact, I would in October if I already weren't planning to see another show, which I won't discuss just in case that falls through. But
right,
it's great, and he's got Ashley McBride and Drew Parker. Now, I'm not familiar with Drew, but Ashley, I saw her at a songwriting round, and you guys can check out the website, themusicuniverse.com. I've got that review up there. If you click concert reviews, you'll see it with Carly Pierce and a couple others, just doing like this Bluebird type songwriters round for a radio station event, and I immediately went out and bought her album. She gets she's so great and talented too, but does not get radio play.
Okay, you know how you say your daughter's the only one who's singing all these songs at school?
Yeah.
You're probably the only one who goes out and buys the album and doesn't just go home to iTunes. But you know what? I respect that. I respect that. I'm just lazy.
I've got to have it, dude. I've got to have the physical. If I like it that much, I got to have the physical. I'll tell you, I downloaded through iTunes Luke's stuff, his EP, the prequel, not knowing that he released CDs of it, very few of them, but he pressed some CDs, so I immediately ordered one when I found out. So I had the digital and the physical. I've got to have the physical if it's an option, and it's got to be on CD, and it's got to be the deluxe edition if there's one. It can't be the standard.
There is a song on that record that, you know, you get used to hearing a song over time and you don't experience the emotion every time you hear it after you listen to it for a while.
Right.
This has not happened yet, and I've listened to this song over and over, and it just overcomes me with emotion. And I think you know which song I'm talking about.
I might.
Because it's Even Though I'm Leaving.
Oh, you know.
I can't listen to it. If I need to cry, I need to, like, I have to. That song,
my daughter,
every
it
time.
upsets her when I played it, and that reminds me of my dad wasn't a country guy, but he loved music, and it makes me think back, you know, like, wow, it's a telling song. And Refrigerator Door, have you heard that one?
Oh my God, Refrigerator. That one makes me smile because that more than anything is. Now, you're a little older than me, and I'm a little younger than Luke. that encapsulates life for the area where I grew up. And now you're from Missouri, I'm from Pennsylvania, but I'm from Pennsylvania. I'm from and I mean that with sincerity.
No, I know.
I mean,
I
my
know.
elementary and middle school years were going to a rural school district and having that small town life. And that song, A List of What Mama Needs, from the IGA today, my mom is living that right now with her mom. So it's that is the song for my generation. And it's just awesome. It's just awesome to see my generation and how we are using our childhood to make great music, because I
Yeah,
totally
yeah.
relate to that song.
And he's just such the wordsmith. Like, I don't know how he does it. And I thought I wrote, and most of mine have never been released, but I thought I wrote good lyrics. I mean, man, listen to what he does. He just paints these pictures. Like,
It's amazing.
You live it. And yeah, I'm from Southeast Missouri, so some people call me redneck. I'm not. I never went out and fished that much. I definitely never hunted, so I never never hunted my own food or anything. I'm not like that, but I am from a rural area and went to a very small school. I think there were like 56 people in my graduating class, and it takes you back. It definitely takes you back to your childhood.
I would actually like to see Luke write for or with Jon Pardi. This album, Heartache Medication, has a song by Eric Church and Miranda Lambert on it, and it has a bunch of songs, Dean Dillon and everything. I think if John and Luke paired up, it would be very good. John, the cool thing about what yesterday represented, and then I'll get into my opinion about John
Yeah.
and his music. And I have mixed feelings. I really like him, and I really am a fan, but I have a mixed opinion as a critic, but at my core, I'm a fan. So,
Right.
if you'll permit me the space to talk.
Yeah.
The cool... not that you
It's
wouldn't.
your show too.
I just know that I have a tendency to overbear. But yesterday was really cool because we went to build, and then we go to the show. And the show was at the Hammerstein Ballroom, a room that I've always wanted to go to. It's not named after Oscar Hammerstein II, who wrote all those musicals. It's named after his father, who was a businessman.
Now,
and
not
built the room.
not to interrupt you, but I thought Lady Gaga closed that place down a few years ago. Did they reopen?
Yes, they did, as the Manhattan Center, as the Hammerstein Ballroom at the Manhattan Center. So
Gotcha.
I'm not too sure about the history. It's real interesting, but it's funny you mentioned Gaga, because she is one of the people that I was thinking was where that room is a kingmaker, and I say that for guys and girls. Kingmaker, queenmaker. If you play Hammerstein, within 18 months, you're going to be playing arenas. Now, I think Gaga was well on her way doing arenas, but Hammerstein was a special show.
Right.
At least that show that closed it down. I think she had been.
I think there were like 5 of them. It was like a residency. We reported.
Yeah, it was.
I remember reporting on it, and that's why when you said you were going to the Hammerstein Ballroom, I'm like, no, that place closed. But again, I'm a Southeast Missouri hick, so what do I know?
Your words, not mine, though I agree. Anyway, so and I get there, and initially I'm not impressed. Okay,
Yeah.
it's this crappy the floors are crappy. It's like old. It's showing its age. Not impressed. And I'll be honest, I was there for about an hour or two before I actually went into the main showroom. And when I got to the main showroom, I was like, "Holy crap!" I call it the half arena. It seats less than Radio City, but it is huge. And I mean, Radio City is huge too, with a 5-story stage and all that stuff. But this, you can really tell. I mean, the proscenium itself was 4 stories, right?
Wow.
And the building was 8 stories. So, and that was just my counting and trying to use the balconies as measurement, because there were 3 balconies and 4 levels of audience space, although they don't use the third one anymore. And then there was like double the amount of space on top of that. The ceiling was as high as an arena. The stage was back inside the proscenium. The floor probably had about 2,000 people could handle. It's amazing. And the acoustics, it sounded like a live record. Jon's set sounded like a live record.
So it was mixed pretty well, because a lot of live concerts are mixed horribly.
Yeah, a lot of live shows are mixed horribly, or they take a little bit of time to get the mix right once the people are in the room, because you could sound check to hell.
Right.
You're not going to know what it's going to sound like till the thousands of people show up.
I'm glad somebody else understands that concept.
Not even a week ago, I saw REO Speedwagon at a theater on Staten Island that we love and have a great relationship with. Sound wasn't mixed right until about the third song in. I couldn't hear them. I heard the music.
Yeah.
So, which is fine. I forgive them that. I understand. You got to go on the fly. This was perfect from the get. And I would go see another show there. Now, I have certain physical limitations. It's an old building, and it's not the best for anybody that has physical limitations. They do have handicapped sections. Don't worry about that. But when you're up in the first of all, the floor is all GA standing. I can't stand, again, for personal reasons. They were very good to me, and I want to give a shout out to the box office. They switched me to second balcony, and the second balcony was very close. It's unusually close to the ground and unusually forward. So I was in a great spot, and this is really unique. I don't know that this is the case for all the shows, but for our show, if you were in second balcony, you could choose where in the balcony you sat. So I found a primo spot in the front row of the balcony and sat down. So it was really cool, and the show was excellent. He did 70 minutes, but man, does he need to learn how to structure a show. I'm sorry, but there were blackouts in between every single song while he switched guitars. The band, here's my advice, and I say this as a non-musician and not even as a journalist, just somebody who enjoys concerts and has been to a lot of them. Let the band start the song while you change guitars. I think they were kind of just doing a fly-by-night thing because it wasn't even really the tour kickoff.
Right.
It was celebration of heartache medication. I keep wanting to say heartbreak. It's heartache medication.
Yeah.
The launch of the album, which stayed at number 1 for most of the day on Friday. And so it was probably different than what his tour, which kicks off with 2 sold-out shows at the Ryman, is going to be. But that was, and the other thing was, the show was very short, and he didn't encore. And it's a very weird thing. You would think the egoless thing to do would be to not encore and just play your show straight through. But if you're going to do that, do what Jason Aldean did when I saw him at the Garden and say, okay, we play straight through. He kind of came up on the songs that would technically be his encore songs, and before he started them, he said, hey, why don't we finish this sucker off? We're just gonna pound it out here hard here for the last 15 minutes, and we're going to say goodnight, and that'll be it. That lets the audience know not to stick around.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Again, going back to what I was saying when we did the Toto show about doing your hits and encores and what audiences expect. Audiences expect the encore, but luckily, to our credit, the band did bow with him, and they did take their time leaving the stage, and the house lights came up. So it was pretty clear they weren't going to come back just in the way they structured it. But I would love to come back in a year when he goes on tour again and see if he's tightened up those road elements, because this is his 3rd headlining tour, but his first in venues that are above 1,500 seats.
I was going to say, this is kind of rare for a country artist to play the Hammerstein Ballroom.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Eric Church played it. Luke Church.
There you go. There's
Eric
a new
Church
artist
played
for
it.
you.
Yeah, Eric Church played it before he started doing arenas. Luke Combs did it, and that was the kickoff. I think within 6 months he was doing arenas after he did the Hammerstein.
Wow.
It was that room is, which goes back to the point and why I wanted to write the article the way I wrote it. That room is the kingmaker. That room tells you will have a long and prosperous career playing very large venues. And I think after this tour, he's going to go to the mid-sized arenas and then maybe the 20,000-seat arenas. Now, here's my issue with Jon Pardi, okay? And this is my issue with Alan Jackson as well. So it's kind of that style and a little bit with Brooks and Dunn. everything, I don't want to say everything sounds the same, but all of those artists have a tendency to write about the same emotion. We spent some time talking about Luke Combs earlier. Every song is a different emotion,
Right.
a different facet of human life.
Right.
Head Over Boots is kind of the same as some of the other love songs that he does. Dirt on My Boots is a party song, just like this. It's killing me. I can't think of the song you opened with, but it all. That's why people say country sounds the same, is people write themselves into certain topics that they cover to death. If John tapped into some other emotions and other ways of writing, I think he would be good and found some other songs. But I'm just a critic, and what do I know? I got to meet him. He's very nice. I'm happy for all the success. I'm by no means trying to be a hater. I'm a fan, and I will go see him and cover him as long as the team will let me. But it's interesting to see him at this stage because he's 8 years in, but he's only 3 albums in. I don't know that he's hit that emotional sweet spot just yet.
Well,
what do you say?
Well, it looks like he played 20 songs last night.
Yes, he did.
And he opened with Ought to Know That.
Yes. I didn't look that up because my computer is dying.
Yeah, well, I'm always right in front of mine. He did Dirt on My Boots last, so you would know that. But
yes.
Heartache on the Dance Floor was a popular one. I get it. I mean, a lot of times, most artists sing about love, sing about breakup, heartache.
Are you saying you disagree with me?
Not really. I mean,
yeah.
I love all these acts actually, and what they
I do too.
What they write about is honest, and if they write about drinking or whatever, then you've got honesty coming from them because that's what they know.
Mm-hmm.
And I know John writes much of his own material, like a lot of the artists are doing, and he's a California country boy, and he's just
love the dogs.
Yeah, I know they're barking up for some reason, and it's just one of those things that we're not gonna get around.
And I don't mean it negatively. I just think it's what separates. It's what separates the Alan Jacksons from the Garth Brooks. It's
and I mean
the variety,
right?
The variety or lack thereof.
And I'm an Alan Jackson fan too, but I will say he doesn't tend to put much emotion into his vocal delivery. A lot of it is just kind of, I don't want to say monotone, but there's not a lot of spice in there. It's you get the same thing you get from the previous song, even though it may be a different topic. It's still the same type of thing.
And it's really interesting to me because Jon Pardi is kind of the mix of Alan Jackson and George Strait. He could do what he.
I turned the mic down.
Okay. Well, I'm still going to edit.
Sorry. Yeah, I turn the mic down when I do that.
It's fine. In any event, well, my whole thing is what I noticed last night is that John is really kind of a mix of Alan Jackson. He can booty dance, which is what he called it at Build. He can booty dance, and he's very stoic at the same time.
Right.
So that I see a little bit of George Strait in there. And it'll be interesting to watch his stage persona grow as he goes from these bigger but not arena venues to arenas to see if his personality grows along with it.
Right.
It certainly is more than what it was for Dierks because there he had to be an opener, and I don't think he could unleash. Somebody commented on an article we did, again going back to Luke Combs, last year, and I still remember this comment about Luke who middled for Jason, and I was really excited. And I saw him and I loved it, and I mentioned it in the review. And somebody commented, well, that's him middling and opening for Jason. because you can't be better than the headliner. Go out and see him when he headlines and does his shows.
Right.
So his shows where he's the headliner. And I didn't quite get what that person meant, because if you're a performer, I don't know, I would do my show whether I was open, middle, or headliner. I don't know that I would feel like I'd reserve.
I can speak from experience that when my last band played, we gave it all we had, despite we were headlining or opening. And I'm not tooting my own horn, but maybe I am a little bit. Most of the time, we were opening, and we knocked the headliner out.
That's awesome.
Awesome. It just, maybe they feel restrained because maybe that is the case. Maybe that, well, we can't be better than them, or maybe they've been instructed. Who knows?
Or maybe it's their stage setup, and if that's in any way was restrictive.
It could be.
He did cut loose a lot more than when he was with Dirks. He was a little more loosey-goosey and a little more...
Yeah, because you know that, I mean,
with the crowd.
yes, you're going to have people there seeing you, even though they're there to see Dirks, or you're opening for Dirks or whoever, but it's not your show, honestly. So your name's not the headliner, and it does sometimes make a difference. Because, maybe you are worried about upsetting them. I know that's a different type of situation, but Eric Church got kicked off the Rascal Flatts tour, and it made Taylor Swift because he was too loud and he played too long and was repeatedly asked not to do those things. So, but, I mean, look where he is. He doesn't need anybody. You know, he can headline a 3.5-hour show to turn into a 7-hour weekend. You know?
Well, what I want to know is, how was he allowed to get away? I would love to know how he was allowed to get away with it, because
he didn't. He
those
got
things.
Fired.
Well, no, how it even happened in the first place, because those things are timed to the letter. A little journalist insider is that sometimes when we're going to a show and we're going through a publicist, we will get the show times, and you folks may think it's random and it's just when the sets are done. No, they have a time schedule. And they adhered to it.
And often, and I know the case was with Rascal Flatts, they often get fined for going over curfew. A lot of these places have an 11 o'clock curfew, especially in New York City. Might even be earlier there. And I think with Rascal Flatts, it's like $1 million for every minute or so. I forget what it was. It's a ridiculous amount.
Well, she's not music, but when I saw Kathy Griffin at Radio City, she did a 3-hour comedy show. I mean, it was incredible to see. I got in for free through a confluence of events we won't talk about, but it was her Laugh Your Head Off tour about everything that had happened with Trump. And it was a 3-hour show. And she would have gone longer. Initially, it was a 4.5-hour show. She went longer, but she couldn't do that at these big venues because it was $5,000 a minute.
Yeah, but see, that's what I don't get. They have curfews, but it's indoors.
It's about traffic. It's about the pollution, the congestion on the sidewalk. And it's about courtesy. AOL Build, or Verizon Build, they used to have barricades. They used to have barricades at the studio because it's just a little street corner studio on West 4th Street and Broadway, or Lafayette Street and Broadway. East 4th and Broadway. It's a little tiny corner studio, and there's one way in, one way out. If you come to do Build, you're going to have to interact and sign autographs because they're there.
Right.
And there's no escaping them. So,
yeah, because you've covered a couple of those already.
Right. So they used to have barricades, and you'd line up. I saw Reba there.
Yeah, don't start.
And when she came out, we were all on the barricade. She was signing. She wasn't doing pictures because she's notorious. If she can't get to everybody, she won't do them. So, which you told me that. But anyway.
Yeah, because I've experienced it.
So she comes out, and there's barricades. I go expecting to lean across the barricade. I get up there about 45 minutes before they're going to let us in. And I'm expecting to be able to lean on a barricade. Again, I can't stand anymore under my own weight for long periods of time. So I'm looking for the barricades, and I go in, and I say, look, I said, where are the barricades? She said, oh, we got yelled at by neighbors. They didn't want the barricades on the block on this little street corner, so now there's no barricades. And when Antonio Banderas, because he was the 11 o'clock, Jon Pardi was the 12, when Antonio Banderas came out, the people rushed him and attacked his face. Were shoving
Wow.
were shoving Princess Bride photos in his face. It was he was mad.
Were
He was
you one
being
of
nice.
those people shoving Princess Bride photos in his face, Matt, and you just don't want to admit it?
No, but had I known he was going to be there, I would have brought up a Spy Kid something or other.
Well, there you
but
go. Okay.
I try to be chill. I
Mask
try
of
to be
Zorro.
respectful. I just Zorro. I try to be chill, and I just watched this, and my God, it was just crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was small, but you would have think he was Justin Bieber or something. The way they were mobbing
Oh, I
him.
bet.
And it's just ridiculous. Why did we get on this about barricades? Where did this start?
At the build series and being, I guess, them only one way in, one way out, and getting autographs. And
What did I say before that? How did we get here?
That they're gone because the neighbors are mad.
No, before that. Before I told this story, what was the point of me telling this story? What were we talking about?
Well, we were talking about you visiting several build series and the barricades being there and you leaning on them, and then
No, before that. I brought that up to illustrate something.
I don't remember.
It's gone.
It's a few
All
minutes
right.
ago. I can barely remember that.
So it's just crazy. Oh God, we were talking about something. I wanted to bring this back around. Oh well.
Yeah, you'll bring
whatever.
it back around if you think about it.
So, okay, this bothers me that I can't think. So, in any event, it was a really good day. I'm really, really happy for Jon that he's getting to do what he's doing. And the album, wow, I'm thrown.
Wow.
And it takes a lot to throw me. Because I
Well,
had a point I was trying to
you've
make.
had
What were we talking?
You've had a crazy couple of weeks. Like you're out covering something or doing something. You always make an effort to have something for the weekend. So you're just exhausted, and you're usually back and forth between Pennsylvania and the city. So that
Yeah.
makes it even more exhausting. Me thinking about it makes it exhausting. Because
You never know where I am.
I
You
know.
never
I
where
have
am.
to ask you, hey, I didn't know if we were going to be able to record this thing tonight because I just didn't know what was going on. And
No.
because things come up.
Yeah, and you're busy too. You
Yeah.
You have
I am, but I like to make, I don't like to be gone. I like to
Yeah.
cover things, but I don't like to be gone. In fact, last time I was in LA wasn't even for a music event, although I did stop at Amoeba Records because I never go to LA without going there. And then when I go back, it'll be about a month from now. I'm going to a TV taping, and again, not music related, but I get invited a lot to do the LA shows, and I just don't go. It's the traffic and usually the timing of it. It's like, I don't want to fight 2-hour traffic and on a Friday
Yeah.
night and then be there late and then have to fight more back, because you can never time LA traffic. You
Right.
think at 11 o'clock at night the highways are clear. Nope. Somebody decided to jackknife and cause the only way you're going to be backed up for miles and for hours.
It's ridiculous.
It is. It really is. So I try to avoid it like the plague as much as possible, even though I love the atmosphere of it. I'm just not. I don't like the driving of it.
Yeah, that LA traffic is just brutal. I've sat in it with you and not with you.
You've driven. In it
Yeah,
with me.
it's
I mean,
brutal.
I'm a pretty I'm a pretty good driver, but don't get in traffic with
Yeah,
me.
really. Anyway, I remember why I brought up the barricades. I brought them up because you brought up curfews, and it's the same thing. It's ordinances. It would be nice if people could go along, and it would be nice if they could have the barricade, but majority rules here in the city, and if people don't like something, it goes out the window.
Yeah, I get it. And I can only imagine what traffic's like in New York City. I've never been, always wanted to go, still do, but I can only imagine what traffic's like there. I mean, and a concert, or maybe even multiple events in the same area letting out at the same time.
Yeah,
Ooh.
because Billy Joel at the Garden was also last night for this month. We covered last month. The,
And how close are they? How close are those venues?
an avenue block apart, an avenue and a half block apart.
Oh.
So Madison Square Garden is between 7th and 8th. The Hammerstein is between 8th and 9th on the 9th Avenue side. Or technically, I guess between... I never know. It's 8th and 9th. It's because it's you.
You just know how to get there.
Yeah, I just know
That's
how
all
to
that
get there
matters.
by how many blocks or whatever it is. I used to be so scared of the subway
Right.
system because ACE 1, 2, 3. What does that all mean? It's nothing. I go by colors and I'm fine. So it's
Right.
just. But that's how it is. Is LA and Bakersfield similar?
No. I mean, well, with all the construction going on in Bakersfield, they have like the whole town under construction at one time, which is, I think, the dumbest thing. They
No,
could
I mean
do,
with
but-
curfews. I said with a mouthful of ice.
Oh, I know they have curfews, but we don't have nearly as many events at the same time, so I'm not sure. I don't pay attention to that. I just go to the shows, and when they wrap up, it's like, okay, cool, let's go home.
Yeah,
And if it were LA, it'd be like, okay, cool, where are we going next?
Yeah, yeah. I think it has to do with the resident. I really think it has to do with the residences in the area, so that you're not dealing with traffic at 11:30 at night, because that's noisy when people are
Yeah.
coming out of a venue.
But it is. But what's even more annoying, where most of the shows I've attended at the arena, which is now being renamed, downtown.
Really?
It's in a. I mean, it's got a lot of. There's a theater behind it and a bunch of parking areas and some. I think the courthouse is right there, and there's some weirdly residential homes on that street, and I usually find parking. I have in the past found free parking on the street. What's even more annoying is the frickin' train tracks that run behind it. And they literally, besides number one being loud, which has to be noisier than a crowd coming out of a venue. I'm serious. They will stop in the middle of the tracks, in the middle of the road.
The trains stop on the train.
And sit. They sit there. Yes, they sit there. So you can't get through if you're driving.
Why do they sit
So
there? Is there a station? Or...
It's all over town. It's stupid. No. If you go to, depending on where you go, I've had to take detours because the trains will just sit there for 20 minutes or longer. Who knows how long they've been there? It's so
Welcome
stupid.
to Train Time
So
with
at
Matt
the
and Buddy.
venue, and ranting
Yeah.
about it. At the venue, so I usually park behind the venue and then walk. And if I'm not paying attention to my ticket, it might be at the theater, which is clearly the other side, but I'll end up walking into the arena as I have before. And then they scan my ticket. This ticket won't scan after I've gone through security and like, why won't you take my ticket? Oh, it's next door. You got to walk around. It's at the theater. Dummy me. Okay, my fault. So when you come out, a lot of times, 10:30, 11 o'clock or later, a train's just sitting there. Or, it never fails, a train just happens to be coming as the crowd's letting out. But the way they have it designed is they have a pedestrian bridge that goes up probably 5-6 flight of stairs that will just get your muscles aching. Or an elevator. One elevator to handle all these people, though. That will go over the train tracks and then down, so that way you could still get across.
Ridiculous.
But it's just super annoying. So when you think about curfews, why don't they think about the trains?
Because those
too?
schedules are unpredictable. One day you may have a train at 11. One day you may have it at 10. Another at 2 in the morning. Those have nothing to do.
Okay. Well, yeah, but I mean, it does cause more traffic problems that causes more delays and things like that. So that's kind of what I'm getting at. It's sometimes they're more of the annoyance than the actual crowd.
Well, let me ask you this.
making the noise.
Speaking of that theater, Jon Pardi, and to bring this back to our original point, because we should wrap this up, because when we get to talking about traffic, I think we've run out of the topic for the day. But to bring this to the theater you're talking about, which is a theater that Jon Pardi is going to be playing, that I know a lot of people play. What does it mean for you? Where is an artist in their career when they headline? And I'm just going to say the venue name. When they headline the Rabobank Theater, where are they in their career, and how long until they're coming back to play the Rabobank Arena and then some of the larger venues?
Right. Well, it really depends, because the last 2 shows I've seen at the theater were Ted Nugent a couple years ago after I interviewed him, and Sammy Hagar in the Circle. Cool. Great shows. Sammy I didn't cover for us, but I did cover Ted. And then the Arena, last show I saw there, which I also didn't cover, was Carrie Underwood, the Cry Pretty 360 tour. And yes, Party is coming November 2nd. Well, it's sold out.
Wait, Carrie Underwood was at the theater?
No, she was at the Arena. So I've covered both, but the Arena, I'm just saying, acts like, I don't want to say legacy acts, but I will, in this case, are more or less playing the theaters, and the newer acts or popular acts now are playing the actual arena.
Well, that's awesome.
So, yeah, so you get to see both sides of it, but I can't really say. I mean, like I said, legacy, whatever. So sometimes the older acts are playing the smaller venues, and the newer acts are playing the larger ones. So that kind of tells you where they're at.
And sometimes it's in reverse. Sometimes the newer acts.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Actually, Jon Pardi's playing here 2 nights in a row. So sold out November 2nd, and then November 3rd, which is a Sunday. He's actually playing,
technically he could have sold the arena once.
It again. He did, yeah. Yeah, he did. So this is they do have VIP still for the November 2nd show.
No, I'm saying since he's at the theater, it could have just been one arena show, which shows you how popular he is.
No, this is the arena. He's playing.
Really, I read it. I
He
thought it
sold
was
the arena
Rabobank
out.
Theater. Double check it.
Oh, you're right. It's the theater.
Ding,
See, I tell you, I
ding,
don't look at the
ding. Matt
tickets
for the
that
win.
much. I see the Rabobank, and there you go. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised, unless there's like a basketball game or something going on. I'm surprised they don't have the arena booked.
Well, he is. I noticed. I really wanted to write about how this was his coming into larger venues. And the truth is, the last tour he did about venues that sat about 1,200. This time he's doing 2,500 to 3,500. So it's not that big a bump, but it is a bump.
Right.
So I say that's why I say within 18 months, and especially if he keeps putting out music, he'll get there with the arenas. And it's so cool to see, and it's so cool to sort of watch somebody explode and start their rise to superstardom, which is how this whole thing started. So with that, I will say, I know you might have, if you listened all the way through to our first episode, which, by the way, everybody, thank you for blowing it up. I don't know if it was because of Toto or what, but wow. We were like, okay, we got to do more of these.
It really is. And back to John being at the theater, there's Disney on Ice November 1st and 3rd in the arena. So that's
the mouse
why
rules.
He's doing.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, House of Mouse has gotta take that arena.
You should
over,
go see
but,
Jesse. You should take Jesse.
We have. I've taken her to that before. That was my first time in the arena after being here 4 or 5 years.
But anyway,
so that'll be cool. But yes, you guys have just. I mean, Twitter's lighting it up. I don't know. We could hit it's our premiere episode, so. Looks like we could hit some big numbers on this. I'm enjoying it.
And a really, really, really just sort of dumb housekeeping clarification. And we learn now to not tease the following week's episode because we thought we would be doing something on something called germing, which is a way of establishing relationships in Nashville that people don't like. That is... and our thoughts and feelings on that. That is definitely going to be the next one because we've decided to air on Thursdays. This is a special one because we covered something. So if we ever cover a major event like an artist release party like this, we'll do something special, but typically we'll air on a Thursday, and we're going to try to keep it episodic so that you're not like, well, you said the next one was going to be on the history of the House of Blues or something. why is this on Jon Pardi? You know,
Yeah, we're just not going to do that anymore. We're just going to talk and then tell you to tune in next time, which could be next week. It could be 3 days from now.
However, knowing that we are definitely going to put Gurming up on Thursday because nothing else is coming down the pike that we want to do before then.
We plan to.
We plan to. I will say an example to kind of lead into it would be there might be people that took issue with my going to AOL Build or Verizon Build and asking a question because I wasn't there in a journalism capacity, but we talked about it. But I wasn't there in a journalism capacity, but I was doing background. It was background. It was me doing it, and I have every right in this country as the freedom of the press to do that and to ask a question. But the people that run the show and let you into parties and let you into concerts may not like that, and we dig into that next week. Two people we didn't talk about, or one Twitter account we didn't talk about, is Gurm Guys, and they have a reality show in Nashville, and they make fun of Gurming and people who Gurm them. So I don't know, maybe we'll talk to them and do another episode on Gurming, but look out for that Gurming episode. We're really excited. We plan to air it on Thursday, like Buddy said, but something may come up, and it might be like that Jimmy Kimmel bit where he keeps going, my apologies to Matt Damon, our apologies to the Gurming episode we recorded a week ago.
Yeah. And then a month ago, then a year ago, blah, blah, blah. The lost episode. There you go. But we can tell you, check out our website. It's themusicuniverse.com. You can read Matt's text from the Jon Pardi the Jon Pardi album release party. And you can also see all the other latest news, which there's an abundance of it. I'm constantly posting stuff. Matt pretty much just covers concerts and song reviews sometimes, but check it out. And of course, you can hear all of our podcasts on here, and it's coming soon to iTunes. I checked this morning; it was not up yet.
Did you?
But we just launched this.
Yeah, and I will talk to you about that when we are off here. But for now, I'll say again, my name is Matt Bailey,
and I'm Buddy Jon.
See you next time.